Once again, we're staying in the same drawing, and we're going to look at our last video now of this particular section where we're modifying objects in AutoCAD 2017. We're going to look at editing polylines and splines. Now, what I've done purely for this is I've zoomed extent so you can see the whole drawing. If you look towards the middle on the right hand side, I've placed a polyline there, rectangular polyline, and a spline there. Just use the crosshair, roll up on the wheel on the mouse and zoom in. Looks a bit like a grumpy man with a sad face. There's his eyes there, and there's his mouth there. Now, we're just going to look at editing these. Now, the quickest way that you can edit a polyline is to literally type PE for polyline edit, like so. On the suggestion menu, you can see there, P edit comes up. Press enter and select the polyline, like so. And you then get the menu come up. Now, when you've got dynamic input on, this gets a little bit busy because you've got all the options on the command line. You've also got all the options on the dynamic input. So if I wanted to, for example, edit a vertex in a polyline, I click on edit vertex and I then get the option to work with all these different options here. I'm going to insert a new vertex in the polyline. So if I click there like so and insert, and I use a nearest snap, so I'll shift and right click and select nearest snap on the shortcut menu, and I'll pick a point, say there. So I've now got a new vertex in that polyline. So when I click on exit now, and then hit escape just to come out of the command, the polyline edit command, like so, if I select that polyline now, you can see, look, I've got an extra vertex in there, an extra snap, an extra grip. And I can stretch that vertex, add a vertex, or remove vertex. So you'll notice if I select that grip and go add vertex, I can add a new vertex as well if I want to, using the grip editing tools as well. That's one of the neat tools for editing polylines. Now there's a whole raft of commands to edit polylines. So if I type PE again and press enter and select the polyline again, like so, this time I might want to change the width of the polyline. Now if I go here and select width, like so, it's using the default width at the moment for all segments, and I'm going to change that to say 15. And that will actually make it 15 millimeters wide, like so. So that is now a 15 millimeter wide line. It's got nothing to do with line weight or layers, by the way. It's physically 15 millimeters wide. Very good for highlighting. So if you did a boundary as a polyline and then change the polyline width to 15, you can see it highlights really nicely by looking thicker on the drawing. So I'll just hit escape there a couple of times to come out of that command. If I just pan up a little bit now and we'll look at the spline. There's the spline there, and you can see I can select it like so. And now if I just right click, you can see I've got spline on the shortcut menu. And I can display the fit points, I can add a control vertex, I can elevate the order, I can delete control vertex, and so on. So there's a whole load of tools here that allow me to edit splines as well. So I might want to add another control vertex, a CV as they're known. So if I click on control vertex, I can specify a point on the spline where I want another control vertex to go. So I might use a snap, so I might go for that midpoint there. And as you can see, look, there's another control vertex in place there now. If I press enter, can you see? I've got a grip there now. So I'll just hit escape to come out. So I select it, and I've got a new control vertex if I wanted it there. Now you'll notice it's disappeared because I just hit escape. You've got to make sure that you press enter. So if I right click again and go back to spline and add a control vertex, and I snap to that midpoint there like so. So there's the point on the spline. So I've done that and I've specified that point. I press enter once, and then can you see here I go add like that, and then I specify a point on the spline. So I might do a shift and a right click, select nearest again, and pick any point I want on the spline. And can you see it's changing as I move those points around? So if I just hit escape a couple of times now, you can see that they're not there. So make sure that you always hit that exit option when you're editing your spline. You go through all the tools, add the CV, make sure that you exit, exit, exit. Otherwise it will not save the changes. If you press escape like I did, you can see I've still got my original spline there in place. So again, there's a lot of tools available there to edit splines. And obviously you've got your control vertices like so. I can click and I can drag, and I can make my spline either deeper or not so deep as the case may be. If I drag that up there, makes it look very different. So obviously utilize these editing tools on any splines or polylines that you're using in AutoCAD 2017.